Welcome to a Halloween edition of Pop Culture Pastors Hour. I am joined by the Lord Vader himself. Anything you want to say for yourself?
So actually, I will say that I can understand why Vader was so angry because this thing is really uncomfortable.
All right, reveal your secret identity. There he is. Um, not our father, but the father of three. So glad to have Ed here. And yeah, it's Thanksgiving or Halloween week. We'll do one for Thanksgiving probably. It's Halloween week, spooky season. So we thought we would gather to talk about a beloved special and maybe a rite of passage or a milestone that kind of hits around this time of year. But before we get to that, Ed, say hello and just anything you want to say by way of greeting. Now that you're back
Yeah.
to your regular
Now,
identity.
now that I'm back to who I am, although my gamer tag on PlayStation is Rev Darth 42. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, so there you go. So
There you go.
yeah, anybody who is a PlayStation gamer, if you want to look me up, So anyway, yeah, just yeah, good to be back on this and excited to talk about a very different thing than what we've done recently. So
That's right.
yeah,
This is yet another response to people who are like, "Okay, you do a lot of science fiction. Can we branch out?" This is about as the diametrically opposed to that as you could probably get. Um, but it's also a little bit of a different thing for us because neither of us are particularly Halloween people. So what is your experience with Halloween or kind of what's your kind of view of this time of year and that sort of thing, Ed?
well, so it's sort of in contrast to my wife. Halloween is like high holy day for her.
Oh, interesting.
And so, oh yeah, big time. So we have kind of this ongoing thing of like, well, how much are we going to do for Halloween, and how much are we not, and things of that sort. Um, mine is just sort of a bit of the I'm becoming the get off my lawn, type of like just
Right.
and just sort of the way that commercialism has just taken it way over,
Mhm.
but one thing I do appreciate is the absolute creativity that some people have for decorations. We have a house in our neighborhood that has been expanding each of the last 3 to 4 years, a gigantic battle between two armies of spiders.
Oh, wow.
Um, yes, and it has expanded this year to where they have a trebuchet
Mhm.
in there, and they've got like a slingshot on the other side. Yeah, so good on you for that. It's
Yes.
just not really my thing.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, also, it's probably some echoes of back in my more conservative days where I was one of those who was like, "Oh, you can't celebrate Halloween because it's Satan's holiday," and
I was gonna
that
ask if that
stuff.
was part of the issue. That
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that was there. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Mm,
you don't have that continued perspective on the holiday, but it's like you don't have the muscles to celebrate it or the kind of
yeah,
nostalgia over it that kinda
yeah.
would smooth that
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
And
yeah, that
also
makes
now that our
sense.
kids are out of the house, like we've kind of, we don't have the kids Halloween, elementary school parties and all that stuff
Right,
now.
yeah.
So,
The kinda
yeah.
wholesome piece of it, which we get a little of in the Charlie Brown special, like, they've got the trick or treating, they've got the party where they're bobbing for apples, all these things.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I have kind of a negative view of it. It's just not one of my kind of things. I love Thanksgiving, I love the fall, and so I like Halloween as a marker of the fall, but in terms of, um coming up with an elaborate costume. I like the opportunity that it gives people for creativity, but I like enjoying that from afar. The other thing is, and I'm curious about this with you, is I really hate being scared. I don't like haunted houses. I don't like people jumping out at me. I don't find that invigorating in any way. Um, and there's certainly a lot of adult celebrations of Halloween that don't involve that at all. It's like dressing up. It's like a cosplay sort of opportunity and a chance to have a party, but I'm curious, do you like scary movies? Do you like being scared? I mean, is that something that is, uh, enjoyable for you?
Um, I love scary movies now and scary shows. I don't like just gore. Like, I've
Mm,
kind of gone beyond
mhm,
that, or that I used to love the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Streets and, those
interesting.
kinds of things, but just I got there's enough horror and hell in the world without just diving into it.
Yeah.
But I do love, like, super suspenseful, scare type movies. Love, love, love,
Mm,
love. Yeah,
interesting. What do you like?
yeah.
What's the appeal?
Um, hmm, I would say probably it just is the kind of the unknown of it, of
Mm,
you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's coming.
hmm,
Um, and, uh Yeah, I don't know that, and honestly, even a lot of things, like, where there's jump scares don't really get me,
mhm,
uh, but, I don't generally have too many of, like, the, "Ha!" In the middle of a show or a movie, um, so I don't have that experience of, like, that being a negative, because I
yeah.
know that is for some people, um, but I love especially well-crafted ones that
Mm, mm,
are really well thought out to where you're really like, "What is going on? What is happening?" Like, even, like, the scary sense of, some of it, and, what was the Sinners, that
mm,
came out this summer, um, had a definite gore side to it, but it was incredibly suspenseful, incredibly well made, and pretty good underlying powerful message that was there within it too, so,
interesting. Okay,
yeah.
little
Yeah.
recommendation there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I mean, these things kind of bleed into each other. There's kind of gore, there's
Pun intended.
horror. Yes. Of course, never intended. That's one thing you learned about me is I never intended, it just comes out. But, like, there's kind of an overlap of it sounds like you're almost describing, like, mystery. There's a mystery piece to it, like, what trying to solve or figure out what's going on, which I
Definitely.
definitely, I think the last movie that I saw that would be put into a scary movie frame was Get Out. I mean, that's a really old now. Did you see Get
Mhm.
Out?
I did. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
saw it as part of an Oscar Best Picture marathon, so I was watching it with, like, 9 other movies, like, all in a row, which is a fabulous way to watch, Best Picture. Shout out to my mom who's on this live stream and, got me, hooked into that, kind of fun activity. But, I'm really glad I saw it. It was like 2 AM when they were showing that one, so it was like peak scary, but it had a broader social commentary to it, which I think made it something that I wanted to invest
Yeah.
time in. But it very much is like, what is going on? And there's all kinds of just wonderful twists and turns, in
Mhm.
it. Um,
Yeah.
one thing that, I went to see Good Fortune, a week or so ago, which is Keanu Reeves, and it's a Aziz Ansari movie. It's kind of a romantic comedy, just sort of a comedy, but Robert and I were, really struck by the fact that almost every preview was for a horror movie, and we couldn't figure out what was going on there, if there are just more coming out right now. You and I have talked about why dystopias are kind of so popular right now and kinda end of the world stories, and I wonder if there's something about horror that I think they're kinda cheap to make, so maybe people are making them just kinda make money, but, like, are people in the mood for horror right now, and what does that say about us, and
Yeah.
this is not on our notes, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but it just was fascinating. I was like, I don't wanna see any to the point where I was like, "Is Good Fortune a different kind of movie than I thought it was?" Because it was just like horror movie after horror movie, and they're all coming out in December, and it's like, that is not a time I wanna be scared. I wanna be cozy with cocoa and, like, my jammies and watching, It's a Wonderful Life. Like, what is going on that you wanna be scared in December? But anyway, I don't know. There's
I
something
Well, the
going on
first
there.
thing first thing that popped to mind when you said that, though, was, like, what the original, like, Grimm fairy tales were, and, like,
True.
the original, like, Cinderella stories and,
Mhm. Yep.
stuff like that, there is something that horror has kind of always been a part of what has been told in story.
True.
And, we've kind of Disneyfied so many things
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
um, we don't, there's power and some need of like engaging the reality of evil.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
um, I just, some of them, yeah, to me at this point is just sort of like, some people call it like slasher porn or,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. That's just like, let's just see how gory and awful we can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, I think if I'm going to engage something like that, it has to have some kind of meaning behind it
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
just, slash and, that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, yeah, or a really awesome sci-fi movie. Because the other probably scariest movie I've seen recently beyond Sinners was Alien Romulus, which
Mm.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So, well, I think that's a good lead into our kind of topic for today, which is this classic. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and this came as a suggestion from you and inspired by a friend. So tell us how we ended up with this topic.
great. So one of my colleagues, who's the interim pastor at my first calling in South Dakota, uh, Joe Joe is only a couple years older than me, so we made an interesting pair, while we were working together.
Yeah.
But anyway, Joe every year back in the days when Twitter was worth using, um, would basically live tweet his viewings of, Great Pumpkin, Thanksgiving, and Christmas Charlie
Oh,
Brown
all of them. Okay.
episodes. And unfortunately, he deleted his Twitter account, so they're all gone. I tried to look him up
Oh.
this week, but
Oh.
um, anyway, I just adored it, and the things that Joe brought to it were awesome. And we actually invited Joe to be a part of this today, but he's got some family things that he's got to is taken care of, so he sends his regrets. But that was kind
Oh.
of the idea was let's just dig
Yeah.
into this. Yeah. So
Right. Well, and uh, keep the door open for Thanksgiving or the Christmas specials because I those are the Thanksgiving one in particular. We watch, or at least I watch, pretty regularly before Thanksgiving. And in fact, the night before Thanksgiving, we often have the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving feast, like the pretzels, the toast, and the popcorn and jelly beans. I think I
jelly
can't.
beans,
Yeah.
jelly beans, jelly beans.
So maybe perhaps he can join us for that. Well, and
Yeah.
something crystallized for me as we were doing this particular one. Um, because when you suggested it, I was like, yeah, that's a nice special. And I'm sure we'll come up with something to talk about because we always do. But as we were watching this one in particular, it occurred to me what we are doing with this whole series. This is not in our notes. So Ed's like, where on earth are you going with this? But I've been listening for many years to a podcast called Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. And it is people who are going chapter by chapter through those books, and they look at each chapter through a theme like acceptance or kindness or, these different things. And their premise, and they are Harvard Divinity School like graduates who started this, is that the attention we bring to anything, we can find the sacred within most anything if we bring that sense of attention to it. They are finishing the last book. They've gone through the series twice. They're in the seventh book. They've got just a few chapters left. And once they finish, they are no longer going to visit Harry Potter for reasons of concerns about J.K. Rowling and not wanting to platform that book. There's a lot of sadness and loss over that, because they've really gotten a lot out of it, but they don't want to continue given her transphobic stuff that she has said. Anyway, the point is that this, I think, is what we're doing. Like, I don't think we've ever had this conversation, Ed, but like two pastors looking at these different things, these movies, these books, these TV shows, we're looking for the sacred within them. And so it was just, seeing this one in particular, I was like, oh, this is what we're about, right? So, so it was fun to revisit it with that eye. I don't
Yeah.
know if your colleague brought that kind of stuff to it, or if it was just more kind of a fun sort of pop culture commentary that he would bring. But
It was a little more snarky with
yes,
Joe, although
yeah,
the theology was there too. That's also been a huge part for me. I mean, we in my first church, we did a pretty much almost the entire time we were there, we had a basically an ongoing theology at the movies group, and
oh nice.
the goal of it was how to help people view media through theological lens.
Hmm.
It wasn't just we're going to watch Jesus movies and do that,
Right. Yeah.
but it was we're going to watch. And this was late '90s, early 2000s. We're going to watch The Matrix. We're going to watch AI. We're going to watch um, some of these other movies and see what dreams may come. Was
Mm,
another one that we did. That what are how do we just not just view these as, "Oh, I liked it, I didn't like it," or we go in and just shut our brains off,
yep.
when we go in, but how do we bring our faith and our eyes and lenses of faith to these things,
Mhm.
not just of a, "Oh, as Christians, we should like this or not," but what is this saying about our culture? What is this saying about our faith? What is this? Um, yeah, so, it was great. I think we had people who really grew through that
Mhm.
and kind of stayed with me in the ways in which I engage media. So,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
I think it's a very worthwhile enterprise, and kind of why we do what we do here is there's not a separation between secular and sacred. Like, the spirit is infused in all kinds of things, and we can just bring our attention to it. So with that said, let's dive into it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I'm curious. First, I mean, as somebody who maybe didn't do Halloween as much, I mean, did you watch this as a kid? I mean, this was something that was on in the rotation. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I did Halloween all growing up, like, as a kid. It was more when I
okay,
got into college that I went all weird.
ah,
Um,
okay,
but,
got it.
yeah, that's a whole 'nother story. But anyway, yeah, I mean, this was, when you saw it in TV Guide or in the newspaper listings of when it was gonna be on, it was like
An event.
required viewing.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and same thing with Thanksgiving and same thing with, Christmas. So,
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah.
tell us what's one of your kind of nuggets, things that you kind of grabbed from it this time around?
Well, the probably the thing that I just there was so much in this one on a so first of all, I'm just gonna say, I have MaryAnn put up a great post, on Substack Notes in it, which had 3 scenes from my favorite part of this. Like,
That's your
I
favorite part, huh?
that is absolutely Snoopy doing the World War One, not only the flying ace, but going through the fields and
Yeah.
sneaking through. That is it's my all-time favorite part of this, and I don't know why, but always as a kid, that was, like, my favorite thing, and still to this day, I just love it.
Fascinating.
So,
Can I
when I
can I
saw the
posit a theory on
yeah,
that? Because it's
yeah,
actually the part that I'm like, get back to Charlie Brown and the Halloween party. Um, but I appreciated it more this time because, again, what I'd said in my note is just the backgrounds, the watercolors, and that Thanksgiving one is like that too. I think maybe even more than the Christmas one, which is so iconic. But just the splash of like watercolor of the sky, the kind of sunset in dusk sort of scene. But here's my theory on that: is it's actually the most when you were talking about um, the kind of scary part of Halloween, that's really the heart of this special is, like, him wandering around no man's land, and the music is very moody. It's kind of the most Halloweeny part of the special, right? I mean, it's this digression. You could lift it out and you would still have the story. In many ways, it's a digression, but
mhm,
the mood of it really I mean, I don't know if that's what you
yeah,
like about it, but, him sneaking around and he's worried he's being shot at. I mean, it is horror in a kind
mhm,
of, Chuck Schultz kind of, conscripted way.
mhm.
So
Well, and not only with that, but the musics. I mean, the music in
Yeah,
all of these is incredible and
yeah,
iconic,
yeah.
and I just love that moody music of just
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
so,
yep.
yeah, so there's nothing deep or theological for me on that one other than just, like, I
Yeah.
I
It
just love that
captures the
theme.
mood. It captures the
It
mood
does.
of what the
Yeah,
series is about.
yeah.
Um, I really the nugget that I really wanted to talk with you about, and I didn't even, say much about it in our notes, is just I had forgotten this piece of that the pumpkin patch, for those who need the reminder, like, Linus is believes in this great pumpkin that's going to come and give toys to the kids and rises out of the pumpkin patch on Halloween night. And he makes a point many times of saying it's a pumpkin patch that is the most sincere. The most sincere pumpkin patch is going to be where the great pumpkin arises. And I just want to riff with you for a minute on the idea of sincerity as this high value. And we live in such a cynical age that I'm just wondering how you hear that today. And I also wonder how, like, when we were younger, we watched this as kids, right? But was that a commentary on the cynicism at the time? I mean, this is I don't know what year The Great Pumpkin came out, but, like, what does it mean to look for sincerity in an age that I don't consider maybe the '70s and '80s were kind of insincere or cynical, whatever the opposite of sincerity is. Um,
1966, by the way.
66. So, you know, civil rights and post, Vietnam-ish, um, is this a commentary against something, I guess? Is it a response to insincerity or a cynical age even back then, which I wouldn't have picked up on as a kid because kids are sincere in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. There's no guile or kind of, I mean, they're just earnest little beings. Anyway, I just am curious about the sincerity piece and if that struck you in any particular way this time around.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing with Peanuts, just in general,
Mm,
is there is such an earnestness and a sincerity about those, and it's all about kids.
mhm, mhm.
Um, I made a little note in there of, the same thing you see in almost all of them. Where's the parents? Where are the
Right.
adults? Like,
Yes.
especially with Linus sleeping out in the pumpkin patch, like, the parents are going, "Where's one of our kids?"
Yes.
Um, but
Right.
so I think that's something that was always a part of the the Peanuts comics was just
Mhm,
this sincerity and this earnestness. I mean, it's kind of the similar thing that I think that at least for me draws in about Calvin and Hobbes. I mean, Calvin and Hobbes has some of the sarcasm and a little bit more of that,
yeah.
but there's such an absolute sincerity
Mm.
in
Mhm.
Calvin and Hobbes too. And I think that's what appeals that I think there's something that people long for that, um,
Yeah.
in a world that even, 1966, there's all kinds of stuff like you said, '70s had it, '80s had it, '90s, we've all and goodness knows we have it today.
Right.
Um, so, yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
something to that.
That helps, frame for me one of the things that I struggle with sometimes with Peanuts, which is, and you mentioned it in the notes too, of just they're so mean to Charlie Brown, and I guess part of what they're you think about the mixture, the recipe of Peanuts, and it is this kind of just very straightforward, we keep using the word sincere, but that's the one that is used in the special, uh, and they cut it a little bit, like, it would be too treacly and too sentimental if they all were just sweet and, there's no conflict, but you have Charlie Brown and the way they treat him, which is just that little spice, right, to make it not so saccharine that it's just unwatchable. But that
Mhm.
piece of it is really important. I mean, that's such a key part of the ingredient mix of these shows is the way they treat him and that the poor kid I mean, you're asking where's the parents? The parents are putting rocks in his his trick or treat bag, you know? Um, and so having that, I don't know what conclusion to draw, but just thinking about the sincerity of Linus and how would you even assess the sincerity of a pumpkin patch? Like that's a fascinating. I'm thinking about the sincerity of our worship spaces. You know, how do we know what does sincerity look like? How do we know it when we see it? You know, any space that we're in. Um, and then you have this kid that just can't catch a break, you know, and we know
Mhm.
that Charles Schultz, I mean, that was where he put a lot of his kind of own identity and personal perspective was feeling like that melancholic aspect of Charlie Brown. Anyway,
Mhm. Mhm.
the sincerity piece just really struck me this time because I just feel like sincerity is scoffed at and I mean cringe, right? I mean, we have kids who are young adults, and I mean, is there anything worse than being cringe? And I think sincerity and cringe kind of maybe have a valence that connect to one another. So,
Well, and that's and this kind of goes a little bit more on a kind of a macro type of thing with this is that, oh, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago when Apple bought the rights
mm,
for the Peanut specials. And so right now, the only place you can find them online is Apple TV.
mhm,
And originally, when they first did it, they bought it and basically that was it. That the only place you could watch it was by subscribing to Apple TV. And there was an uproar. I mean,
mm,
massive of like,
mm,
like we we want this show. People need to be able to watch this.
yep,
And Apple relented. And I don't remember if it was that they gave some network to watch it or
mm,
basically they said for like this 1 week, you can watch it without a subscription or something. I don't
yeah,
remember how they did it.
mhm,
But that was that was kind of my feeling was like, dang, you're taking something away that people kind of need
yes,
and putting it behind this paywall
right.
for at the time a streaming service that had a pretty low subscription rate.
Yes, right.
Um, so
Yes.
yeah.
Which is I mean, there's layers upon layers of irony in this too, right? I mean, and the commercialism of Christmas that we'll make if we watch Charlie Brown Christmas, we'll I'm sure talk about that, but it's present here too. Like, is it Charlie Brown who's like, this holiday is kind of or maybe it's Linus, it's like, just hang out in the pumpkin patch. Like, why do we need all this other stuff?
Hmm.
That it
Hmm.
becomes a and Sally, I think, is maybe an avatar for that because she's like she really likes Linus and she hangs out with him in the pumpkin patch, but she gets really mad when it's like, I got cheated out of what I was entitled to as a kid on Halloween. I didn't get my candy, and she's really mad, you know. It just a kind of an explicit expression of those tensions, I guess, of the sincerity of like and again, the pumpkin patch is so beautiful. I mean, it's just rendered so gorgeously in the sky and you know, sitting in this patch, and I'm like, "Oh, there's something so romantic about that." I don't mean romantic like, you know, but I just mean, um, you know, they're kids, so it's not
Hmm.
like they're on a date, but like, you know, what a sweet place to be, you know,
Yeah.
on Halloween. So,
Of
anyway.
course, he does call Linus her sweet baboo.
That's true.
So
That is
there,
true. That is true.
she does have eyes for him. So,
Yes, that's right, that's
mm,
right. So,
yeah.
um,
So I this time for me. So there's two things for me that one was just like the nature, kind of the nature of faith, because
yeah,
there is something in there of Linus, and you get Linus, of course, with the Christmas special. Is Linus is the one who gets up on stage and busts out the Luke passage, and um, so Linus kind of always has this a little bit of kind of like the spirituality. He's like
yep,
the chaplain of the crew, um, but the nature of faith that was in there, and I saw several pieces of it. One was in Linus's letter where he's writing to the Great Pumpkin, basically says, "Don't tell me if you're a fake. I don't want to know."
right.
Um, and I thought of is it Pascal's wager? That's the one of like, basically, are you willing to take a chance that you're wrong about the existence of God, or is it better to just, even if it's fake, go with it just in case? I think
Yes.
that's Pascal's wager.
I think so, yeah.
Um,
Hedge your
yeah,
bets, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But then the thing that really got me was the conversation at the very end, like, kinda as the credits are starting to roll, and Charlie Brown says something of the, "Yeah, yeah, I've done lots of stupid things too," and Linus lights into him
Yes.
about, um, how his faith in the Great Pumpkin is not stupid.
Mhm.
And goodness, I and there was also the line in there of like, "We're separated by denominational differences," one thing that comes out.
Yes.
Um, so I mean, I've seen and I've participated in those kinda arguments of,
Mhm.
when someone criticizes your faith or something like that, and, that
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, finish your thought. Yeah,
No,
that's I'm just
no, go for it.
thinking about I mean, that this is so salient, and I'm glad you brought this up because, I mean, it's become an article of faith, so to speak, that, we're so polarized and it's hard for us to talk to each other. And Charlie Brown is trying to make a move towards him of saying, like, man, I've been there. It wasn't a "You idiot," like, it was gracious and compassionate, and it was not effective. And it was so great the way they kind of do that because they've got Linus is going off on him. "What are you talking about? It's real," "It's gonna happen," and the credits start rolling, and he just and it they zoom out. I mean, it's just so because you can I mean, he's just holding forth, and it just keeps going and going and going, and it pans out, and, I mean, we've been there, right? It's like, "Oops, forget I said anything," like,
Yeah.
because 'cause you're just kinda stuck there. Um, but it's just such a trenchant, view and portrayal of how I mean, let's kind of say this Great Pumpkin thing is almost like a conspiracy theory, right? I mean, what I found myself wondering is, where did this idea come from? And where do, conspiracies and I'm using that broadly because this is the mostly harmless one. This isn't like, whatever, some of the more malevolent conspiracies that we are swimming in these days. But, like, how did that come to be? Um,
Mhm,
you know, just in the imagination of a child? Did he hear something that he then kind of extrapolated? Did his parents tell it to him to try to get him to be good? I mean, those kinds of morality things that we do with kids. Anyway,
mhm,
yeah, the impasse. I mean, uh, how do we help people expand their mind beyond the certainties that they have lived with? Um,
mhm,
it's a
mhm,
it's a good one.
mhm.
It's a real meditation on that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, how do we respond when yeah, and not just of how people respond to us, but how do we respond?
Mhm.
Do we, because the other part is and granted, Charlie Brown is Charlie Brown, but,
Mhm.
um, it doesn't Charlie Brown just kinda sits there and just lets Linus,
Mhm.
just go, almost
Yeah.
like, "Okay, make your rant and we'll be done,"
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't turn into Charlie yelling back at him and, the 2 of them
Right.
getting into a fight on the bridge there or wherever that
Yeah,
wall is that they're at.
right.
So
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the other question that it brings up for me is what does that belief do for Linus? Like, what is it about the belief in the Great Pumpkin that he's so determined to hold on to it, even with what looks like pretty compelling evidence, or is it? Like, it really does map onto conspiracy. I mean, I was just hearing someone talk about this not long ago. Like, if you point out the way that a conspiracy theory is wrong or evidence to the contrary, people will just incorporate that into the conspiracy. And I think Linus does this, right? He says, well, I'll find an even more sincere pumpkin patch next year.
Mhm,
And so what is that doing for him? I mean, we're both people of faith, and we work with spiritual communities that care about this kind of faith dimension of their lives. And what end, I guess, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a really interesting critique of, uh, whether it intends to be or not of the work that we do, you know?
Mhm.
Like, what's in it for us? What's in it for this belief that we have?
Mhm.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at what point, just kinda play this out. At what point does Linus, 'cause we don't really know how old those kids are, but,
Mhm.
like, at what point, if you're thinking ahead, does Linus kinda grow out of that?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and there's kind of those things of that all kids, I think in healthy societies, there's a time where there's sort of like a marking of you have been a child and now you're an adult, whether it's like the walkabout, vision quest,
Yeah.
or just you're graduating from high school, whatever it is in the particular culture that does that is sort of this sign of, okay, it's time to let go
Mhm.
of stuff. And what is lost when that happens?
Right. Right.
Because that was one
Yeah.
other thing we put in there is also in our notes about the power and the beauty of imagination
Yeah.
that that is, and maybe part of that thing going back to the beginning about the Snoopy scene with the World War II or World War One part is that is so just imagination.
Yeah.
It's Snoopy buying his doghouse
Mhm.
and then finding himself in World War One France and
Right.
all that and then climbing into this building that is looks like a French countryside building, and poof, there he is with the bobbing for apples and Halloween party. And
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
the imagination part is done.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's such yeah, the what popped into my mind just now was one of our ordination vows that both of us took to become pastors. And in the
Mhm.
Presbyterian Church, our deacons and our ruling elders also say that there's a question about, will you seek to serve the people with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love?
Mhm.
And I do feel like sometimes as adults we have let imagination weaken.
Yes.
Um,
And
and
maybe that's what makes Halloween special and meaningful for people today, is it is an opportunity to engage the imagination. Like, when I think about that ordination vow, um, I must admit that I often think of it as the imagination to enact good programs or to envision bold ministries, like it has a purpose, and it often does. I mean, it's like, well, we're kind of stagnant. How do we kind of, imagine something different? And this is just imagination for its own sake. Even Linus, who kind of has a very specific mythology that he's kind of pursuing, um, I mean, he talks about the great pumpkin bringing toys and stuff, but you kind of don't get the sense that that's really what he's in it for. I mean, if he was in it for the loot, he would go trick or treating because, I mean, there's just throwing tons of stuff into these, unless you're Charlie Brown who gets a rock. Um, but it's just imagination for its own sake. I mean, that Snoopy kind of that you've talked about. Um, it's just play. Maybe that's imagination as play as opposed to imagination as problem solving. Right, and maybe that's what makes Halloween, appealing to people is just it's just imagination for the fun of it, the chance to play,
Mhm.
and I really appreciate that, and it's probably good that there aren't adults. It is always weird. This doesn't even have the kind of adult, like, going the "womp, womp, womp, womp," which Peanuts specials often do. That's how they render adult voices. You don't even have that, I don't think. I don't think there's a single instance of that. They're just completely absent. So it's this adultless space, that in which kids can just indulge that imagination, and dogs
Mhm. Mhm.
indulge that
Mhm.
imagination as well. Um,
Mhm.
does Scout like Halloween? Is she a,
She will not wear costumes, like, we
uh
tried it one time, it just doesn't go well.
too bad.
Um, and she goes nuts whenever the doorbell gets rung, so
Yeah.
Halloween in our house is just it's not great because
Yeah.
she's freaked out and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
but
Not good for
yeah,
the animals that unless you're
not
Snoopy.
so not so
Yes.
much, not so
Oh
much.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
another piece of this that I thought was really evocative. I mean, it just is it's such a cozy kind of fall piece of art, right? And you lifted up some of the simplicity of the season and just these little moments and scenes of like, the autumn leaves and blowing the leaf and jumping into the I mean, all of that kind of thing. So even with this elaborate imaginative stuff going on, there's also just enjoyment, I guess. Anything you wanted to add about that?
well, it is my favorite this is my favorite season of the year, no matter
Yeah.
what. I just
Yep.
for every reason that it is,
Yeah.
not least of which is that means summer is done and it's not deathly hot.
Mm.
Um, so,
Yeah.
and as a photographer, autumn colors are just the best. And,
Mhm.
but I just, yeah, I love there's a sidewalk, around the corner from our house that always just gets absolutely coated with these maple leaves, and I just love walking through that with the
Mhm.
crunch, 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 and still
Mhm.
kicking them up as I walk, um, I adore that,
Mhm.
and, like, there's some of that the childlikeness of that, because
Yeah.
what's the point of kicking up autumn leaves? None,
Mhm.
but there's just something about it, and it's beautiful, it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and the goofiness of don't jump into a pile of leaves with a wet sucker. Um,
Right,
so,
right.
um,
I
yeah.
remember Robert telling me years ago about this restaurant. It was kinda one of those farm to table type of restaurants, and one of the things they did in the fall is somehow they had a little, um, cache of burning leaves, like, either right outside or I don't know, the aroma kind of went into the kind of dining room, and people were weeping. I mean, just at the kind of it just evokes this nostalgia. I mean, we don't really burn leaves anymore for a variety of very good reasons. Um, but I still, when I'm driving around in the fall and I smell that, it just takes me back to what's that term? Like, it's not even something that I remember, but something that I long for that I don't remember. Like, and I think that's what this special does really, really well.
Mhm.
Um, can we talk about Lucy?
We can talk about Lucy. Let's talk about Lucy.
Um, Man, Lucy's tough. And I think as a kind of, assertive female, I'm kinda supposed to resonate with Lucy, and there's parts of her that I mean, I'm also a big sister, um, and there is this kind of, uh, beyond the specials, this kind of sense of, like, embracing one's inner Lucy, among some women I know, that's just she's kind of her own person. I mean, in the Christmas one, she wants real estate, I mean, she wants to kinda be independent, be her own woman and stuff, and she's just so mean, and I really struggle with, how maybe the question is, how are we supposed to approach this character? What are we meant to think about her? Because as you point out, I mean, she rips that football away, which has just become just such a iconic thing that would be people use that as an expression, right? When, somebody gets the wool pulled out from under them, it's like, "Oh, you're like Lucy with the football," or "You're like Charlie Brown," um, but yeah, what do you kind of how do you think about that character?
Yeah, I mean, in pretty much most of the episodes, because really, I side note, I really consider there's basically 3 Peanuts specials. There's a whole bunch
Mhm.
of other ones, but really there's these 3.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of in all of them, Lucy's a jerk. At least,
Mhm.
kind of is she's bossy, but you're right. I mean, that's also the thing of, when a woman is assertive, that's sort of the thing of, "Oh, yeah, she's a jerk.
Mhm.
She's a bitch. She's a
Mhm.
whatever."
Yeah.
Um, when if maybe they're doing the exact same thing a man's doing, but just because it's a woman. So,
Mhm.
um, but, pulling the football away from Charlie Brown intentionally and just trying to mess, is just, um I mean, there's all kinds of psychological stuff that could be going on, of like
Mhm.
analyzing what is her and Linus's family situation like.
Right. Yes.
Um, but I just in this one, the two things were in the midst of her annoyance with her younger brother Linus in the pumpkin patch. She, yeah, says, my knuckleheaded brother, but she still gets him candy.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and conceivably, that's something that maybe her parents Lucy was the original mean girl. There you go, yeah.
Yep.
Um, that, her parents, that said, "Okay, yeah, Linus is gonna go do his thing, make sure you get him some candy."
Mhm.
Maybe there was that. Of course, we don't see that.
Yeah.
So is that something that she just chose to do on her own?
Right.
Um, and then she's the one who finds Linus out in the pumpkin patch in the middle of the night and
Yeah.
helps him back in, tucks him in, and puts him to bed,
Mhm.
which is it's an incredibly sweet moment at the end.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
She doesn't go out there and go, "You idiot, you're still out here."
Mhm.
She just wakes him up and brings him back.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's a complicated character in
Mhm.
this one.
She is, and maybe that's maybe that's all we're meant to kind of is just say, we all contain multitudes as the expression goes, and I'm was glad I looked at your notes before I viewed it again and this time around, and so that I was really keyed into that scene when she does get up, and I remembered it. I mean, like, her clock chimes 4 a.m., and she's like, "My baby brother's not home. What a blockhead," you know? Because she does I mean, it is so kind and I mean, it's tender in the way she kind of rouses him and she just walks him in, she takes his shoes off, she pulls the covers up, but if you look at the expression on her face, it's very kind of there's some annoyance there still, it's not like, "Oh, you poor thing." So, yeah, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of hope in that, that even, like, her tough exterior, um, that uh there's a kind person in there, and yeah, she's fascinates me. She has fascinated me for 50 something years now, ever since I've been watching that show.
Mhm,
Um, and in the Christmas one too, she offers pretty good advice to Charlie Brown, who's like, "I'm kinda depressed, this time of year is hard," and she's like, "You need some involvement," and I'm like, "That's it's good advice," you know?
mhm,
Kinda look beyond yourself, so, yeah, it's an interesting text.
mhm.
Anything else that kind of, comes up that we haven't talked about yet?
I think we kinda well, I'll play a little bit more with Lucy.
Yeah.
I we all do it, and we do it with ourselves
Mm.
of,
Mm.
"This is who I am." And, um, that, it may be that, the person that we can't stand, it's like it's a good Samaritan,
Mm.
that, um, this, person who you didn't think would be the one who would do the kind act because, yeah, those Samaritans are horrible people. Well,
Mhm.
we don't always know,
Mhm.
and we might see something different from people if we look for it.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you justify mean or awful behavior.
Right.
Um, what she does to Charlie with the football thing, that's just being a jerk. Like,
Mhm.
that's there's just
Mhm.
either that or she's got a crush on him and she doesn't know how to express it
Right.
otherwise.
Yes.
Um, but either and still, I mean, you don't justify bad behavior, but some of it's what's underneath there.
Yeah.
And,
Yes. Yeah.
um
Well, and there's a line from The West Wing, I actually put it in a post a couple weeks ago, that CJ at one point says, "With certain things, there are no victims, just volunteers." Like, you can I mean, Charlie Brown should know better. And there's something about this is about the sincerity piece too, like, um, there's some hope in Linus being like, next year it'll happen for me. And we kind of go, oh, that's kind of sweet. And yet I mean, I look at Charlie Brown and I'm like, he thinks next time it'll be different. And it's like, when will he learn, you know? And so I don't kind of excuse Lucy for doing that, exploiting his gullibility or whatever it is. But I'm also like, you got to learn some kind of resilience and savviness here, kid. You know, because the world's going to be hard for you. And knowing that Chuck Schultz kind of felt like Charlie Brown was his avatar, I just think gives that a kind of an interesting gloss, because he did have that sense of himself, I think, of being kind of the kid that doesn't fit and always has that melancholy kind of side of him. But yeah, anyway, so there are more complicated dynamics there, I guess, than just, yeah,
Mhm.
Lucy's a bully and poor Charlie Brown. Yes. And also Lucy has a kind part of her, and Charlie Brown also, like those of us who are kind of extra sensitive people, the world is hard on us. And also, let's figure out how to navigate it in a way that's, I mean, just say no, you know,
Mhm.
or get someone else to hold the football, you know. Anyway.
Put it on a tee. Um,
Yeah, there you go. There you
well,
go.
what the one last thing that popped into my head with this, and this goes like sincerity and so forth, is, in the years since Charles Schultz died, his family has, I mean, and he did it too. I mean, there was merchandise of Charlie Brown and Snoopy forever. I mean,
Mhm.
my earliest cuddly stuffed animal it's a Snoopy.
Oh,
But I named it Benji. Um, and but it's Snoopy. And so I mean it's always been around. Um, but there's been some of the things that have come out in recent years of Snoopy things that are like, I don't know if that really feels Peanuts-ish, and to go back to the Calvin and Hobbes comparison, I think of, Bill Watterson, you know, you don't there is no licensed Calvin and Hobbes merch anywhere.
yeah,
And there's none of that. And I really hope that he's got some kind of ironclad thing in his estate
right.
that when he dies, that his family isn't like, you know what, there's a cash cow that we've got that's going to feed us for the next
Yeah.
100 years. And all of a sudden, merchandise the heck out of it. But there is that sense of just that, let's keep the sense of what this was, and
Hmm.
not exploit it and shift it into something else. They did that with, don't get me started on that short-lived ABC Muppets series a couple of years ago. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and that's one of the reasons, yeah, every year I still will want to watch this episode. And
Yeah.
same thing with Thanksgiving, and same things with the Christmas episodes, is it brings me back to it.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 In a really, um, forgive the word, pure, I guess, kind of way, right? There's
Mhm.
something very sincere, without guile, earnest about it, and we really need that right now. Remember that line from Reality Bites when, I think it's, um, Winona Ryder's character says, "Why can't it all go back to normal at the end of the episode, like on the Brady Bunch?" And Ethan Hawke's character says, "Because Mr. Brady died of AIDS," you know, which is just ultimate Gen X cynical, whatever. And it's
Totally.
like, no, we still need this kind of, just again, pure, um, non non-exploited, good, complicated. Spent a whole hour talking about this, 25-minute special. Um, that's important. And the forces of cringe kind of fight against it, but I'm wanting to say we need this. I think
Yeah.
it matters. So,
Okay, I got one more question, and
yeah.
I know we're pushing up on clock here, but what are your kids experiences of this? Do they still wanna watch it? Like, would they
Oh, interesting. They wanna watch the other ones more. We just didn't have a
Mhm,
pattern of watching The Great Pumpkin as much as we did the Thanksgiving and Christmas ones.
mhm.
So, but it's kind of a ritual, I guess. But what about yours? That's what's their
I think the
connection to it?
2 this one yeah, this and Thanksgiving are the 2 biggies. Like,
Hmm,
they enjoy I mean, we'll watch Christmas. It's wonderful, it's beautiful.
yeah,
But kinda these are this one and Thanksgiving are the 2 that our kids generally will be, like, even kind of on their own now that, they're off, like,
yeah.
they'll watch it on their own when they're at school. And,
Mm,
I think it was a couple years ago, one of them did the Thanksgiving meal with friends at college. Like, they all
nice.
got together with other students to watch Thanksgiving on and then did the, pretzels and popcorn and toast and
Yes.
everything else. So, yeah,
That's excellent. Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's really
So,
lovely.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when we get to the Thanksgiving one, we could talk about Peppermint Patty, who, also has the, like, frustrating female role in that one,
Mhm.
although has a little redemption at the end of, like, realizing that she was that well, we could save that for next time, but,
And the epic triangulation part in there too.
yes, for sure, for sure. Yeah. All
So,
right. Well, thank you all for joining us
thanks.
for our little
Yeah,
conversation, and hope you have a chance to watch the special if you haven't already. And we will see you next time. Subscribe to Imago Scriptura and
yep.
or the Blue Room if you have not already done so. And yeah, thanks.
Pre-order MaryAnn's book.
Ah, yes, it is pre-order better than normal where fine
Yes.
books are sold. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you
Alright.
next time,
See
everyone.
y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.